In this movie, we continue to look at some of our layout options specifically focused on our float-based designs. Now, if you recall, in a previous movie, I talked about how we had 4 different options when it came to our float-based designs. The biggest difference between each of these 4 different types is going to be determined by the measurement system used to create it. So if we end up using a flexible measurement system, such as using percentages, we are going to have a different layout than if we used pixels. The reason why is that pixels are going to be an absolute measurement that if we set is always going to be the same from one browser to another. If we end up having a percentage, then that design is going to be a little bit more flexible and scale out to meet the needs of that specific browser. So we have these 4 different options when it comes to using our measurement systems for our float-based designs. So first of all is a design that's going to give us some pretty good control, and that's the fixed width approach. As I said, the fixed width approach is going to provide us with more design control because we will be using the pixel measurement system to control how much space we are using for our design. Because we designate a fixed width using our pixel measurement system, we are not necessarily going to be using all of the browser window space that's available to us. Now that's kind of a disadvantage here because that means our design is not going to scale up or scale down to meet the needs of our specific browsers. Now, of course, on that flip side is it's going to allow us to have a bit more design control by limiting how much space our document is going to take up in terms of width. So you see here we have 2 designated target widths depending on what browser size we're targeting. We have 760 pixels and then we have 950 pixels depending on what browser we're targeting. Now typically whenever you have a fixed width design, the left edge will either butt up to the left edge of the browser window or it will be centered in the middle of the window. And as you recall, we can end up centering our pages inside of our window by setting our margin property to auto. And of course that will only work if we have a width set. So in essence, that's how our fixed width layout option is set up to work. Now the next type of layout that we have is the liquid layout. Now the liquid layout is going to be a little bit more difficult to design for, but it will use the maximum amount of space given to us by our browser window. And it's able to do this because everything is set up in terms of percentage. So we set up our left column to be 20% and our right column to be 80%, and essentially we use up the entire browser window in terms of those percentages. So if we increase the browser size, our columns are also going to increase in size to match the available space that the browser is giving us. Likewise, if we shrink it down, it will also scale down as well. Another point about our percentage here is that by using percentages, we are essentially tying our design to the size of our browser window. Whereas with the fixed width, we set it up so that we were using pixels, which defines our width by a specific amount. By tying it to the browser, we're at the mercy of whatever size the browser is going to be set up at. So we do have quite a bit less control than what we would have if we had a fixed width because we don't know how our designs will collapse. The third type that we have is going to be our elastic. Now with the elastic designs, we're also going to have less design control than we would have if we had used a fixed width design. And the reason why that is because we are going to be using our ems for our measurement system. So by using our ems, it's going to tie our design to the text size of the browser, not the browser window size. So if the end user ends up changing the base font size, it will also change our entire design. Now this is a pretty good thing because it will allow us to scale to our end user's viewing needs. However, it is somewhat more difficult to design for because we have to take that scalability into account. Now the last option that we have here is the hybrid option. And essentially the hybrid option is going to use a combination of all of the things above. The hybrid option tends to utilize flexible designs that take advantage of scalability. And in these hybrid designs you will find the use of our min and max width and height properties that will allow us to have something in between a fixed width and a liquid design. So, in essence, we're not going to be at the total mercy of our browser window, nor are we going to be unprepared for if an end user scales their text up. Now that concludes this look at our basic float layout options, and we will see them in action in an upcoming movie.